This is the finding of a panel of experts that investigated what happened. Over 50 billion rand was lost in the violence last year, with over 300 people killed. For more discussion on the report of the panel of experts, I'm now joined by Johan Burger from the Institute for Security Studies. Johan, thank you. I've got to thank you for your time. The big takeouts for you from this report that has been released, did it tell you anything you didn't know already about the state of our security services and whether or not they are fit for purpose?
No, I don't think there's anything really new in this report. It simply confirms what we've known for a long time, and about issues also that we've been talking for a long time. And so it just confirms what we already know. But the value of this report, of course, it is a report compiled by persons specifically appointed for this purpose by the President. They are an independent group of people, and they have presented their findings and recommendations in a very structured way. So it's a very valuable report in that sense. So yeah, so they've just combined what we have already known for a long time. They've confirmed it in terms of the interviews they've conducted and their own study they've conducted, and now they've presented this to the President. So now we have a structured, credible document that outlines the problems that we have within the security services. But almost more important, I think, was the fact that they pointed to the neglect in terms of issues of inequality, of unemployment, of poverty, and the huge potential for public violence that this creates. So you have to look at the failures of government and of the security services within that context, that we have a huge potential out there for violence and for whatever dangers or threats to our national security that entails.
You're absolutely right there, Johan. The whole issue of the unemployment, poverty and inequality being framed in the way that the authors of the report have done as a security concern instead of a purely securocratic approach to analyzing what happened in July last year. But on that analysis, which ones of the factors that they list from a securocratic perspective, which ones for you seem to have contributed the most from reading their report? Is it the failure to, have prior warning and early warnings intelligence products that could have helped to avert the situation, or did the factors that have to do with the lack of capacity in the police weigh more? Because I see that even the public order policing is also being mentioned there, that it was simply overwhelmed and unable to respond in some of these situations.
Yes, absolutely correct. I'm convinced that the biggest failure is in terms of intelligence, especially prior intelligence or early warning intelligence, and the report reflects on the need for an early warning capability. So I think that is the biggest failure. There is, of course, reference to the National Intelligence Estimate that did warn of the potential for this type of violence prior to this violence erupting, but there's no indication that any of the other security services have paid any attention to the National Intelligence Estimate. So the report also reflects on the fact that there seems to have been more than enough indications, the social media and other sources of information at least, which already should have alerted the intelligence community that there is something brewing and something that bad that is going to happen. So the police could, according to the reports, be excused to the extent that they were apparently unaware of the pending violence and disruptions, and therefore did not prepare. My own view is, of course, that the police needs to have, apart from good intelligence, they need to have contingency plans in place. Purely for this kind of situation where they are caught without any prior indications that something is going to happen, so that they can react to this. And of course, the report highlights the failures of the police, largely in relation to the public order police units that seems to be ill-equipped for the responsibilities that they have.
Lastly, Johan Burger, do you have any expectations, though, that this report will be acted on? Because as I'm speaking to you, I'm quite frustrated as a South African, because many of the themes, as I was reading that report, are the same themes that were there in the high-level review panel by Sydney Mafamadi about the situation of our intelligence structures and coordination thereof and hollowing out thereof. And also, if you go to public order policing, already the Marikana Commission had told us that this needs to be attended to and it needs to be fixed. Do you believe this will be the moment this week that we can hear the President saying, finally, I've got enough, in terms of gathering what needs to be gathered, now I'm going to act, now we start to fix this situation?
Yeah, again, you're absolutely right. And now is the time. Now is the time for the President. He is making his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Now is the time for him to make, publicly state, although he doesn't need to give the details now, but he needs to firstly acknowledge the failures of government, the failures of the security structures, and also the fact that they have failed to react to the reports that you've just mentioned. 136 very good practical recommendations in the panel of experts report in 2018, which links on with the National Development Plan recommendations. All of those recommendations, if implemented, could have given us today a completely different state of the police, state of the intelligence services, and so on. So, yes, I am hopeful that the President will now realize that we cannot ignore another report which tells us what is wrong and also what needs to be done to fix it.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. Johan Burger, always generous in giving of your time and your expertise here on All Angles.